Great. Sorry for the delay. My name is James Pepper. I'm the chair of the Cannabis Control Board. It's 1:05 p.m. On December 7th, 2022. And I call this meeting to order. I'm going to start off with some bittersweet news today. It pains me to say this, but we have to say goodbye to David Scher, our general counsel. He's moving on to what I suppose are greener pastures, but really what could be greener than the cannabis board. Those that haven't heard, he's accepted a job as the inaugural state director for the next, or I suppose I should say first, Congresswoman from Vermont, Becca Balint. I've been a secret admirer of David since we first worked together nearly a decade ago. Bail reform, expungement, presumptive diversion, Tamarack, and of course, cannabis. Short of the legislators that actually put their names on those bills, it'd be difficult to find anyone who has more of their fingerprints on criminal justice reform in this state than you. I hate that we have to send Becca, one of our best and brightest, to DC, and that she's tearing you away from us. But at the same time, Congress needs her energy and her vision now more than ever, and she's going to need your calm competence more than ever as well. You guys are going to make a great team together. Thank you for helping. Thank you for your help getting this thing going. You'll be impossible to replace. But on the bright side, the next time you're staring down the business end of a pre-roll, you won't have to think to yourself, "Ugh, work." However, if the packaging is plastic or the label is off, you know who to call. In other news, the CCB has finished its draft of our report on solid concentrates. We've sent it to our advisory committee for their consideration and comment. We're going to review that report in an open meeting, probably next week or the week after, but sometime before we submit it to the legislature. We have another report due to the legislature in the new year on how the CCB intends to regulate hemp-derived products. We have a preliminary draft of that report completed as well. And once we have given our advisory committee an opportunity to weigh in, we'll walk through that report. Other than that, just approve the minutes.
So moved. That's you.
Okay. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We better agree on everything today.
Yeah. Okay. For those who worry, Kyle as well. He's giving a presentation to the National Regulators Association today at this time, so he's not here with us. But David, will you walk us through our license recommendations?
It's right behind your
Oh, thank you.
Sure. All right. So just stop me and ask if you have any questions. I'm not, Brain has the rhythm here and knows what you guys are, info you guys are looking for, but I'll just go through it quick and again, stop me if you have any questions. So still going through the patient applications and caregiver applications at a good rate. So sort of moving through that backlog nicely on that stuff. Here are the adult license applications. It's like I made this too big. Hang on one sec. There we go. So some of these things you can see on the far left-hand column. A lot of zeros there. So the sort of volume of incoming stuff is going down, and things are moving through the queues nicely, and lot more numbers on the approved side of things. Obviously, there's a bunch of folks who remain incomplete, but we will need more info to help those folks move through. In terms of location of retail licenses, obviously this has been a topic of discussion the last few weeks. My understanding is this is pretty much stagnant since last week, so I don't think we're seeing a lot of change or a lot of increase in, at least over in the immediate recent past, in terms of people looking for retail license applications. We're at 53. Moving on to the staff recommendations here. We've got submission number 1035, Vermont Medicine Man Botanicals, mixed cultivator tier 1. We've got S1189, TK House of Green, mixed cultivator tier 1. S1431, Cannabis Caboose, doing business as Depot Shop. These are retailers. S1572, Cloud9 THC, indoor cultivator tier 1. S1926, Family Tree LLC, wholesalers. S1950, Blue Anchor Enterprise, outdoor cultivator tier 1. S2078, Snug Farm Manufacturers tier 1, and S2354, outdoor cultivator tier 1. Staff has found that these folks have all met the requirements for licensure and are recommending that they be licensed. We have a few license amendments here. People applying for indoor cultivator tier 1, small cultivator amendment, mixed cultivator, and outdoor cultivator. All folks, all small cultivator amendments there. Social equity status. We have nothing new this last week. In terms of submitted, we do have some pending determinations though. So yeah, that we have, what do we have? We have 5 social equity pending determinations, and the the staff is recommending to the board that these folks have met the criteria for social equity status, most of them under subsection O, one of them under subsection P. And then we do have a presumptive disqualification issue. This is for an employee identification card, not for a cannabis establishment. This is, and the staff is recommending that this person has overcome the presumptive disqualification under board rule 1.11.3. That's everything.
Great. And so with the presumptive disqualification, David, you gave us a draft memo earlier, kind of describing the circumstances. I personally read the memo and don't need to discuss it if you don't need to discuss it.
I don't. I'm
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Great. So then we will not go into executive session to discuss that. I think we can just vote on it as is.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Well then, is there a motion to approve the staff recommendations?
I move that the board accept each of the recommendations as presented to us by staff in this meeting.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Okay. Why don't we move to public comment? I know it's a relatively short meeting today, but we'll do it the same way we always do. If you join by the link, please raise your virtual hands. And then after we've gotten through those, we'll move to people that join by a phone.
Good afternoon, board. How are you today? Can you hear me?
Fine, thanks. Yes, we can hear you. Thanks,
Thank you.
Keith.
I just have a couple of comments, and I appreciate all you're doing. I'm sorry to see David go as well. I understand he's done a great job throughout this time, tenure here in Vermont, and I'm sure he'll do great in Washington, D.C. when he leaves down there. So congratulations to you, David. I would like to know if you guys plan on building a license tracker where you can see the licenses. I don't know if that's what David just showed, but something similar to that. The license tracker shows that it's been received, reviewed, needs more information, when it's going to be looked at again, or it needs some other further information down the road, and when it will be approved by you like today, and then when the time period when they have to commence operations. I'd like to know if there'd be a license tracker like that built. I'd like to know if you guys plan on building open data sets for all the information here. So say presumptively a business
Keith, we lost you.
going on in
Oh, there you are. You're
sales
back.
of all our products being here. Excuse me?
We lost you there for a second. I heard open data sets.
Yeah. Open data sets for current license holders, and to see if a prospective business entrepreneurs coming to Vermont could see what's going on here in Vermont and know what products are selling and what gram point price points are, pound price points are, and see what we're doing weekly of sales throughout the state and through each business. I'd also like to see, is the CCB going to build its own social equity team within your guys' office instead of the one you guys are using now, and build a community outreach program for disadvantaged business communities, like what you guys have for, like, say, like
Oh, he's gone again.
environment, and you build an outreach team to come out to people that might want to join the and some stuff. If Carrie could do a monthly inventory tracking webinars, because there still seems to be some questions when I was listening to the Q&A on the nighttime meeting that people had. If there was a monthly tracking webinar that could be updated, or people have issues or what's going on, that could be some more training done that way. I'd like to know if that could be implemented into the program here. And is there any way there could be something, a section on the laws and regulations in the state for fines, penalties, adult use, medical use, home growers with criminal codes and the penalties? And will you guys be building a municipal tracker for all the towns? So here I was looking, or is he in Vermont, know where to go and know other regulations as well? Because I see that there's a lot of the towns, after listening to somebody last week saying that they had problems with their wastewater and all this other stuff. Who, like, if they had to go to those towns to meet somebody, wouldn't it be easier to look on the CCB and be easier to go there and find that contact information than having to sort through the state? See, if I was coming from California and wanted to open a business here in Vermont, I'd want to know which towns are opted in and where the municipalities have their commissions, and build a tracker system for that, so we know where to go if somebody came here and wanted to build a legal business in Vermont. Those are pretty much all I have for this week to comment on, and I'm sure I will come up with some more, as I always do. Just trying to be helpful and build, as a stakeholder, build a better system here. And
Yep. Thank you, Keith. Thanks for those suggestions.
bigger staff, but thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Carl, if you're trying to comment, we cannot hear you.
All right, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you. My name's Carl Weiss. This is my first meeting of the CCB, and I want to thank you guys for being here. It's very exciting. We're down in Wilmington, so we've just had Ratu's open, and the experience is happening. So it's a very exciting time. We have a product concept that we're getting ready to submit to the CCB. And before we put it in, I just wanted to put it out there and make sure that we're going down the right path in terms of what might be acceptable. The product concept is coffee. It's local coffee. infused with THC and healthy fats, particularly long chain triglycerides and medium chain triglycerides, also with some terpenes. One, I'm curious if that's the kind of product that the CCB says. Oh, I hear somebody else speaking in the background. Is that a product that would be acceptable? I know that seltzers are coming out, but coffee also, would that be okay? And then also in terms of packaging, there's a call for opaque packaging. We envision these being in mason jars that can be recycled locally through the dispensary. And then would the expectation be that the mason jar itself would be opaque, or would it be okay to have a clear mason jar? And then that's it. Those are my questions that we're trying to work forward and get a handle on.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. All I would say is we don't answer questions directly during these public comment sessions. It's not the purpose of a public comment session, but we do have a product registration process that can walk you through some of those questions. We have a lot of guidance documents around cannabis products and what's required of their packaging and what can be added to them. So I would encourage you to just take a look there as an initial step.
Oh, thank you. I did. I read through those, and these are the things that popped up that may be the only thing before we submitted. I guess once we submit through that email process, then there would be a back and forth exchange, and that's how the communication would be to get our questions answered?
That's right.
Perfect. Well, just thank you guys for being here, and thank you for pulling it off,
Yeah, thank you.
Floor.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, Robert.
Great. I was trying to find the best guidance documents for procedures for moving product back and forth between licensed entities. As an example, if you're outsourcing to a manufacturer who's doing certain procedures on your flower, or if you're wanted to bring in a service provider who's going to help you certain things, what are the requirements for those types of moves, and who can actually provide services to a cannabis business without having a cannabis license.
Okay. Thanks for the comment, Robert. Again, we don't generally answer questions directly during this session. I will say that our rule requires a transport manifest, and the requirements of that transport manifest are pretty detailed in the rule itself. But if you have additional questions, feel free to email us. I think it's ccb.info@vermont.gov, and we'll make sure someone gets back in touch with you.
I'll look at the transport rules and see if I can get my information there. Thanks very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Yep, you too.
Hey guys, thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak. We were psyched with the craft paper bags being approved by the board. We want an air sealed option, so tin is out for us. Unfortunately, that company that's been approved needed a minimum order of 10,000 units, which is not affordable, especially when we don't know if this will be an allowable option in the future. Of course, we could use glass, but that all comes out of China, not very awesome for the planet, not to mention the delays from the upcoming Chinese New Year. Shout out to the rabbit. And then there's, of course, the freight cost of the heavy packaging, also not very economically feasible for us. Just want to say we spent months discussing how to implement a socially equitable and empowering marketplace, but this lack of sustainable child-proof packaging inside this country has put some of us at a disadvantage to participate in a sustainable manner. Everyone agrees that we want to use the most environmentally sustainable option there is, and we're trying, but it does seem to be pricing some players out of the market completely. All this said, I do think it would be nice if one of the board members in particular began showing some grace and humility to the cannabis community while we struggle to navigate this black and white plastic policy. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, Jayla. Anyone else who joined via the link, please just raise your virtual hands. And then anyone who joined by phone, you can hit *6 to unmute your phone if you'd like to make a public comment.
We spent a lot of time at Flora thinking about packaging and trying to cut down on packaging costs. And I concur with the last commenter that it is very expensive to get this stuff, expensive and with long lead times to get this stuff in. Something that we've been trying to work on with various partners in the supply chain, and something that I would encourage others to work on together is to think about buying stuff like a buying club almost, where multiple growers could together buy the pallet instead of by the case, and work with potentially with a wholesaler that has storage space. There are significant price cuts when you go up in order size, but the kind of where you really get the price cuts, half pallets, full pallets, half truckloads, full truckloads, that's 7 and 14 pallets, is an absurd amount for most individual licensees. But if you're doing 10 licensees together, all buying the same kinds of jars, it really cuts the price potentially, in third. So something for folks to think about, something that we've been playing with ourselves. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Anyone else, either on the video or on the phone? Again, for phone, it's *6 to unmute. Oh, okay. Well, I'll close the public comment window then. I guess one thing I should have mentioned at the outset also is I think that we approved a few advertisements this week. So please, anyone who's looking to do advertisements, someone I think successfully was able to surpass the kind of hurdle of the 15%, not viewed by people under 21. Anyway, please submit advertising requests to the board. We'll get through them. And other than that, I think I can adjourn for the week. Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.